I wasn't going to do a video on the Abattoir of Zir. For those of you that have watched all my content, you know why I'm not playing the Abattoir of Zir. And for those of you that are new to the channel and watch sporadically some of my videos or not, or if this is your first time watching my video, if you want to know why I'm not playing the Abattoir of Zir right now, then I suggest you go into my D4 playlist and you look at the explanation. Warning, there's 99 videos on the topic. It'll explain why I'm not playing the Abattoir of Zir. Now, I wasn't going to do a video because I decided not to play Abattoir of Zir, but I'm getting inundated with questions and people asking me about my take on the Abattoir of Zir. As everyone knows, I live stream every night, and during the live stream, I got asked that question a lot. So I thought I'd give a little overview on what has happened so far with the Abattoir of Zir. It's not even 48 hours old, but I'll give you my impressions from what I've seen. And then really what I do want to discuss in this video is the impact that it's having on D4 and the future of D4. I hope you'll join me and you'll stick around. We'll see you on the other side. Okay, so as far as the Abattoir of Zir, it launched on December 5th. And to be honest with you, it started off on the wrong footing when players noticed that their active glyphs had lost levels. Obviously, when this was noticed, the community was outraged and vented their frustration out on socials, which caught the eye of Blizzard, obviously, and they acknowledged the issue and said it was looking at it. Very quickly after that, they released this statement, and as you can see, they were going to fix it on PC via Stream and Battle.net client, and the patch was also going to go to console players the following day. So the Abattoir of Zir obviously not off to a good start. And regarding the issue of glyphs having experience reduced and losing levels, I'm going to talk to that point a little bit later on the video, so don't go anywhere. Okay, so first impressions of the Abattoir of Zir from speaking to some of my friends that have played it and from some of the information that I've gathered. It seems like for the most part, the majority of first impressions is that the barrier to entry is too high. Although I have to say, I applaud Blizzard for having some sort of high-level endgame content, but the mechanics and what's involved in that is another discussion. But I'd like the idea of providing something like this for players to thrive and have a goal towards, and have an activity to test their builds and classes in. So I applaud the idea. It's just a matter of what it entails. That's the question. But again, we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. The big takeaway from what I've read and seen and spoken to many players is that the new glyph XP cost is far too high. As an example, prior to the Abattoir of Zir, when we were leveling up our glyphs, if we were upgrading it from, let's say, a level 19 to level 20, it was approximately 500 to 600 experience XP required to get that level upgrade from 19 to 20. Now, in the Abattoir of Zir, for example, it's been shown that when you want to increase your level in Tears of Blood, on the Tears of Blood glyph from level 15 to 16, the XP required to do that is 65,700, astronomically greater than prior to the Abattoir of Zir. Clearly, there has been a huge increase in the amount of experience required to level up your Tears of Blood glyph. drastically different than what we are accustomed to with leveling up glyphs prior to Abattoir of Zir. And again, I just want to highlight this. We're going to talk and touch on this a little bit more later on in the video. Another part of the Abattoir of Zir that's a little bit concerning is that the Tears of Blood glyph. Now, the rumor going around is that it's going to take well over 300, 400 hours of grinding the Abattoir of Zir for you to max out the Tears of Blood glyph. So the question is, who has that amount of time to put into grinding for something that is going to be taken away once the Abattoir of Zir event ends? And we know and have been told that everything in the Abattoir of Zir, when the event is over, we will no longer have access to that glyph. So we're leveling something that we're going to lose. People are recognizing it, they're acknowledging it, and they're talking about that some of the feedback that I've seen and comments that I've seen regarding this issue is, why would I spend 300 plus hours on something that is going to be taken away from me? So that is another concern that I've read. The other thing is, I've heard a lot of nice comments and good comments about the difficulty level. It's nice to finally have something that's challenging, and that amazing. That's really good that there's something in the game that's challenging players. But the other side of that debate is it too difficult? And here we go again. And to be honest with you, this is the premise of this video, and this is what I want to talk about more about, is we have to see the fine balancing the levels of difficulty for players. And this is the point of the video. I think Blizzard is really in a tough place right now because they're juggling and trying to find out how they can balance satisfying two completely different player bases within their player base. What do I mean by that? I mean, clearly there's a good chunk of casual players who only have hours, maximum 3, 4, 5 hours a week. And then we have the top 1% of the players in the game that are hardcore and can dump hundreds and hundreds of hours into the game. It's clear Blizzard is struggling to find a balance between those two within their player base. And we're going to talk about that later on in the video. Anyway, overall, there's really a mixed bag of feedback that I've seen and that and to players that I've spoken to that have tried it. But I think what really is more on the negative side is the fact that what they showed us at the campfire chat and what actually is in game is different regarding the glyphs. And I don't want to touch that subject because it's a very delicate one, but clearly there was a little bit of misrepresentation there from what I'm seeing. And obviously the fact that it's going to take an enormous amount of gameplay hours to achieve max level on the Tears of Blood glyph, and then for it to be taken away, that's not sitting well with a large percentage of the player base. So I'm on the fence as far as what is going to be the playability of the Abattoir of Zir, and we're going to see more. We'll get a better flavor more and more as the event continues to go down here. But right now, nobody has gotten past. I think it's level 17 is the high. Tier 17 is the highest, and a lot of people are saying nobody's going to be able to complete the challenge of finishing and completing the tier 25, which is the max level. But time will tell. All right, so the Abattoir of Zir got off to a bumpy start. There's, pros and cons to it right now from what I can gather. Some people are calling it a snooze fest. Some people are calling it an unrealistic event, like who's going to dump 300-400 hours into trying to maximize the glyph and completing the tier 25 challenge. Many feel that nobody's going to do it. And again, time will tell. But really, the purpose of my video is not the Abattoir of Zir event solely, but just at the macro level and the strategy of Diablo 4 moving forward. And I applaud Blizzard for trying to put this kind of event in the game. It's really needed, amongst other things, because there's still and I continue to stay consistent on this opinion, and that is, until the two big elephants in the room are addressed and that's end game content and itemization. We're going to continue to have these discussions, but I wanted to throw my hat in the ring with the fact that I think Blizzard, it's obvious they're struggling with how to balance and make two different player bases happy. That is the casual player and the hardcore player. And I don't envy them. It's a tough position to be in, and it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with this. Clearly, the base game seasons, I think it's driven more towards the casual player. It's very easy to level. The content is not very difficult. Season 1 and Season 2 is a cakewalk. And actually, the jump from Season 1 to Season 2, as far as gaining experience and leveling to 100, has become 40% more efficient and quicker. Definitely geared. If I were to grade right now, the Season 1, Season 2, the launch of the game was casual player based. Absolutely, in my opinion, hands down. The Abattoir of Zir is more targeted towards the hardcore player, where, first of all, in order to be able to, so the barrier of entry into the Abattoir of Zir, I think, is very high. You need to complete the campaign, you need to complete all the chapters, you need to be level 100, etc., etc. And then I think also, if you really want to be, at least give it a good go, you need to grind the 5 bosses, and min and max your character, and really be a chunky class to be able to deal damage and take damage. So that in itself also takes a lot of grinding hours, just because of the loot drops and how it works, and the drop rates aren't exactly high with the good stuff. So the barrier of entry is high, and then even if you pass that entry point, completing the Abattoir of Zir again takes an enormous amount of time. So to me, the first beginning of the content for Diablo 4 was casual based. Abattoir of Zir, obviously, in my opinion, is more hardcore player based, and herein lies, and this is the crux of the problem for Blizzard. How do they balance the two? I think you can, just by doing what they've done, but they just have to do it better. But the problem is that when you put this kind of content, the end game content like the Abattoir of Zir, you're gonna segregate and upset the casual player, because they're gonna be like, hey, there's no way I can even try the Abattoir of Zir because I don't have the time to put into the game in order to actually even be able to access it, let alone attempt it. So this is a huge problem for Diablo 4. It's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with it. So this is another big mountain that Blizzard has to climb, because I would argue that the majority of the player base is on the casual side. And if they gear their game towards that, then they're going to lose, in my opinion, they're going to lose the top end of the player base, the hardcore players. And whether or not that's detrimental, who knows? But it's going to be very interesting to see how they deal with this problem, in my opinion. Anyway, I hope you found the content informative, and if you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And I just want to give you my initial take on the Abattoir of Zir, but more importantly, what it means for Diablo 4 going down and in the future. I have to say, unfortunately, another black mark. I have to say, the experience issue with the glyphs, where people lost levels, and they clearly buffed the experience that is required to level up the Tears of Blood glyph, like, astronomically. That in itself presents and makes you wonder, What are they doing? But I'm going to stay away from that topic. Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. And we'll hope to see you next time. Take care.